App developers and programmers of Reddit, what was the dumbest app program idea someone ever proposed to you? Someone tried to sell a friend a membership to the new internet. She asked me to sit in and listen to the sales guy's pitch. At the time I was running a web hosting business along with managing a smaller dial-up ISP's networking infrastructure. The new internet was going to be built new from the ground up. All new infrastructure but without all the stuff that makes the internet bad. The sales guy couldn't explain how that was going to work. For only $50 my friend would get a lifetime membership. Members of the new internet could surf the old internet and enter information about old internet web pages into a form on the new internet about those old internet pages. Then the new internet could suggest pages on the old internet when members of the new internet did searches about them. The members of the new internet would get paid for entering this information on the new internet system. So after a while, new internet's members would start making money and recover their membership fee. My uncle suggested I create a type of digital map that could direct you places and help you get from point A to point B. He suggested this 3 weeks ago. Every time the office goes somewhere, like for our holiday dinner or whatever, my boss will stop by everybody's desk with a printout of the MapQuest directions D. My favorite but dumbest was Chipotle, which would match you with people with similar or compatible Chipotle orders. This has potential. My family has a technology business, and when my mom started to learn to make apps to support the product, she made a test app first. The whole app was just one search bar that you could type any word and it would do nothing, unless you search loser, and then it would pop up with a picture of me from middle school with a bad sunburn and braces. Thanks mom. Sorry gang, it never hit the shelves. It only exists on my mom's really old Android tablet. A friend of mine wanted me to make an app that turned your phone screen into a mirror. Not front-facing camera, not just blacking the screen, but a literal mirror. He couldn't grasp why this wasn't possible. Also any kind of new social media app that they think can be made by one person in an hour. Many years ago, my dad's palm had an app that did exactly that. And because of how reflective that screen was, it actually worked fairly well. Probably not well enough to apply makeup or anything, but as an emergency mirror to check if you've got something on your face, it was entirely adequate. Any attempt to create another social media app, knockoffs of popular games, like the plethora of Temple Run games, an app for a smartwatch that will run in the background and periodically meow. I want a meowing watch. Not mine, but for our capstone project. Various faculty around campus get to put in project proposals for us to choose from. The worst freaking proposal was a magic 8-ball type of app, but instead of a magic 8-ball, it was a psychic dog. It was supposed to scan your dog's paw and give some kind of 8-ball-esque answer to your question. The group that got stuck with that project, I felt so bad for them, repeatedly asking for changes the night before each deadline and getting upset when it didn't come out the way they wanted. Also, they wanted to charge money for this crap app too. I have a buddy who is a programmer and a while back wanted to just get used to making an iPhone app and uploading to the iTunes store so that he was familiar with the process for when he wanted to do a real app. As practice, he made an app that would randomly generate a name based on census data. More common names were more common. It made it on some website's list of top 10 lazy apps and a bunch of authors started buying it. Last I heard, he had made about $20,000 on his stupid app he uploaded for practice. Wait till you hear about my new startup. You'll have to sign an NDA to hear details, but it's called Hello World. An app that does your taxes for you after talking about a site that does it. An app to make this noise. A website to take custom butcher orders. The reason this is dumb is that nobody in the shop would know how to run it except for me, and I was one of the butchers. I had a friend who had an idea for YouTube, but better. He didn't know how it would be better. Also, he had no idea about domain names, hosting, VPS, maintaining a website, designing a website, or literally anything. After he explained it, I let him down as gently as I could. That is the stupidest freaking idea I've ever heard. TBH, there needs to be a new YouTube, like Skype to Discord. I got mixed reviews on this one, so I'll add it to the list. Back when I was in a coding program, our final project was to propose an idea, have the group vote on it, and build the app. My app idea was a Yelp-like app for finding public restrooms. and leaving reviews on them. Some classmates said that was a smart idea, while others weren't so excited about it. As someone with crons, please someone make this. True story. At a company I worked for, we had created an app that tracked employees' time. Each employee would have to log in and click a button to clock in. We were approached by a manager of a department that wanted us to create an app that would allow the employee to log in and then click a button that would then essentially click the one button the employee would have to click to clock in. Like seriously? Did you just ask us to build an application to click one button when it would be the exact same as using the other app? I'm getting second-hand furious about this one. Old boss runs a low-level IT company, wanted me to develop a backup redundancy for military air traffic control software, including designing our own hardware, all because I used to be a controller. No idea how to design, build or test hardware, no concept of military systems, designs or contracts, federal regulations, military agreements, anything. No software development background. Basically he had an idea with absolutely no way to implement and no idea where to start. Ultimately he ditched that idea in favor of certifying small businesses as HIPAA compliant and got angry that I wouldn't just give him a checklist of things to check due to the litany of federal compliance requirements that were deemed too much work to review, learn, codify and comply with. Trash. I feel you. Software engineer, was placed in charge of a project to build new hardware simply because I'd once worked adjacent to a group that did similar things and that made me more experienced than any of the other employees. My family friend develops apps, and I always loved her stories. My personal favorite was a weed breathalyzer app for your iPhone. If you blow into your iPhone to see if you're high, you're high. Pretty simple. Miles delivery service. We'll go to restaurants and deliver food to your house, or go to the store and pick up your groceries. My pitch to an entrepreneurial class in 1998. What a stupid idea. There's no way anyone could make money doing that. I once had a friend who wanted me to urgently make a full-on sports betting app in 1 week. Like, talk about choosing beggars extraordinaire. He wanted one person to make a commercial betting app goal live in 1 week. Urgently. I could all but laugh in his face and tell him to frick off. An app that you could make a list in that would live update to all of your devices, so that we can have a family shopping list. My mom circa 2018. I told her that you could use Google Docs for that, and showed her how, and she goes, but that's not for making shopping lists. You got Google Keep as well. My sister-in-law thought I should make a business using drones to make fake reindeer hoof prints on roofs and other evidence of Santa, and when I told her yeah no that's not going to work, she said well you should make a program that does that with a drone and sell that. Well you can always sell it to North Korea. They would love to bring gifts to the rest of the world. Local line cook wanted me to make this app as a side project. Open your refrigerator and take a picture with your smartphone. The app will give you all of the recipes that you can make with the stuff in your fridge. The app itself would be amazing if it wasn't basically impossible to build. Edit. Line cook to line cook. Every company with more than 100 employees and a non-tech savvy boss will at some point pay away 7 figures on a branded social app or website that's going to be the next Facebook or Twitter, where millions of potential customers will certainly want to hang out and crickets. Yeah, you're going to shut that thing down within 6 months because it is too embarrassing that your big bet social community is a buggy, boring, blatantly sales focused ghost town. Dang, I didn't know some of that stuff actually went through. I am imagining some boss messaging everyone on Facebook to use a better alternative. A contest raffle app where people would be entered to win prizes, and somehow large companies, Coca-Cola for instance, would pay us a few cents for each ticket entered. He just needed someone to put together the code over a weekend and promised me 30% of the profits. He had no answer when I asked him why would large companies pay for us to run raffles through this app. I declined his offer. I have only 3 words for suggestions like this one: money up front. I hope this qualifies because it is the most unrealistic request I've ever heard. A guy wanted to build a game engine that would incorporate all the major game categories: FPS, RTS, Sim, Open World RPG, etc. as building blocks and let a player create a custom one-off game session by picking which of the elements to combine into a game that would then be multiplayer over the internet. I am not capable of imagining the code it would take to make something like this work. I can do a single player version of this. It's called a box of Lego. I had a Navy captain ask me to add a friend foe column to the countries table. Took me about 2 seconds. Then he asked me to populate the fields. With what? Whether we're friend or foe with that country. Sir, I'm a contractor. That really seems like something that somebody with authority should provide. Sounds like a relationship status, but it needs and it's complicated added, at least. Facebook for base phishing. Facebook for local bands. Facebook but only for people at our school. I know. Facebook but for dating. I always have the exact same response. Send me the technical details in an email and I will review them. I have never received an email. In most cases, people just want you to humor them. The other fun question is, I make the app site tool. What do you do? I'm a publisher. Send me your finished manuscript and I will review it. Nope, never happens. Had a friend once who tried desperately to get me to create a search engine that could compete with Google. He's not the brightest crayon in the box, lol. I mean, if you could build a search engine that could in fact compete with Google, that would probably be a pretty good moneymaker. Course, that's in much the same vein as if I could fly like Superman, my morning commute would be a lot easier. I want you to make a simple mobile game like Call of Duty so I can host a tournament for my son's birthday. It's due next week. Can you do it for me as a favor, please? I was speechless. Working in corporate America, we get people that think the company has the budget or engineering staff of Facebook or Google. At various points, I've been asked to build an app that replaced features of Chrome, Notepad++, SAP, and e-commerce sites with features and layouts based on ideas from Facebook rather than business applications. Google and Facebook have an army of engineers working on their products. We're not going to be replacing them on a shoestring budget, nor should we. An acquaintance once said he'd give me one of his ideas. I was curious how dumb it would be, so I asked. He said, like Facebook, but for sports. I said, so Facebook, yeah, but for sports. You know, where teams can create pages and fans can talk about the team. So, Facebook no, for sports. This went on for about 5 minutes before I explained that teams and fans can already accomplish everything he wanted using Facebook. The same guy argued with me when I said that ideas are worthless without execution. Sure, if you have particular industry insider knowledge, your idea might have some value, but chances are we're talking about an entire business plan that generates value, not just Facebook for X. You know, where teams can create pages and fans can talk about the team. So, Facebook no, for sports. So, Reddit then. An app that would have access your Gmail to read all your orders to check for price drops to get the difference, and the user pays on the honor system afterwards part of the savings. An app that would handle the writing of long tweets, but was also a full-blown Twitter client. An app that would send an SMS when you lost signal. Lots of apps that just expect your app can do anything. Well, it just has iOS allowing us to see everything the user does in other apps. An app that would send an SMS when you lost signal. I, too, would like this app. One of my classmates requested a copy of Google Chrome browser. Not like a copy-paste of Google Chrome, but a custom browser similar to Google Chrome. Dude, what was wrong with the real Google Chrome? When people wanted Internet Explorer, but better, I would install Firefox and put on an IE skin on it, and change the icons. Looked like IE but ran like Firefox and actually loaded pages. My boss asked me to write a business plan for an Uber-like service for babysitters. At the time there was a lot of issues with Uber drivers and debaucheries violence, at least in the media. When I asked him how he planned to do background checks or informed him that usually parents wanted to do an interview before leaving their children, he wasn't pleased. Needless to say, the prospectus painted a grim picture of our potential liabilities. Something like this exists. It's called Chime by Sitter City. You register to be essentially an on-call babysitter for certain times. Oh, there are a bunch of dumb apps in the store. Like seriously, there's apps that claim to make your phone into a scale, and people download it. They totally work. You either weigh enough to break your phone or not. I was contracted to build a church website, and one of the deacons I worked with wanted every single page to have different music played when it came up. The site was going to be about 20 pages. I mean, honestly, the only irrational part is that people don't stay on a page too long usually. If you had the playlist of 20 songs in a randomized queue that played while people were on the site, that wouldn't be too bad. Audio isn't too common, but I am sure old people would love it, lol. I like to cook, but I don't usually follow recipes. I'll just throw stuff together. My boyfriend commented once that I should make an app to save my recipes in case I want to recreate them. While his heart was in the right place, I could also just use any number of note-taking apps if I wanted to do this. I did have ideas pop in my head from the suggestion on how to go overboard with features, selecting ingredients and measurements instead of having to type them in, tagging recipes with keywords, etc. But that would be a lot of work for something I wouldn't use. When I was in college, someone once asked me to write a program that would send our trash into space from a trash can. This man was probably 55. I told him it sounded like a good idea. Crap, I would have laughed at his face if this happened to me, lol. Oh lord, I had some trashy woman propose to me an app that would I can't even explain it because it made no sense. But basically it involved signals on motorcycles, and having your helmet also have signals on it, and somehow this involved a mobile app. Somehow it was supposed to make riding a motorcycle safer because you had signals also on your helmet, which is not entirely without merit. But it's not just an app. You'd need to develop a helmet that could do this, and a motorcycle that could do this, and at this point the app is not the star of the show here. Maybe the helmet and motorcycle should just talk to each other and not go through your phone. But as it was proposed to me, you were meant to tap a button on your app when you wanted to signal, and I was it's not safer at all. Though a bike that connects to a smart helmet with a built-in HUD sounds absolutely badass, and I now want one. My partner is a programmer, so I've got to witness a couple of stupid app pitches over the years. The one I remember quite well was some dude we met at a bar, backpacker type, who had just arrived in town. His idea was to make an app for travelers that basically would let your family back home book some random person, I think other travelers in the area, to stage an intervention with you if your family back home felt like you deserved it, let overbearing mothers pay to have some rando do their overbearing business so you'd never get to rest while on vacation. I have two. First one was pitched to me as a search engine Google type app that would help direct people to the correct website they were looking for if they mistyped or misspelled the information, i.e. Cisco Systems instead of Cisco Foods. When I pointed out that most search engines already had this functionality for free, they got upset. Second, more of a website proposal, whereby users would pay a large monthly subscription fee to view web cameras from around the world dedicated to only show a live feed of the sunset wherever it is on the earth. This was during the 2000.com boom when tech money poured out of everyone's ears. That sunset one doesn't sound bad tbh, especially if you honed in on a few HQ cameras. Expand it to other scenic views, morning over mountains, rain in a forest, etc, and that's a pretty cool website. IDK how profitable it'd be, but I can imagine office workers would tune in to at least check it out and to get away for a second. All the comments about social media apps are true. It's also shocking how many people want a copy of an app that already exists. Most of those also happen to be the most popular social media app at the time. What I find with a lot of new apps is that at this point it's become like this other app, but with X. A while ago, at a party, I started chatting with some guy about biomedical applications of automatic image recognition. That's not even really my field. Truth to be told, I'm not even really a programmer, just a mathematician who occasionally cosplays as a computer scientist. After a bit, he started trying to convince me to work with him on an app to tell users if a mole looks cancerous or not given a photo. I tried to tell him that 1. The law, with good reason, does not have much sense of humor regarding unlicensed medical advice, and selling such an app would be a remarkably efficient way to frick up your life. 2. Doctors, in order to make their diagnosis, make use of a lot of domain knowledge that I have little clue about, and that would be tricky to implement in an algorithm even if I knew it. 3. The only vaguely ethical way to code such an app would be to have it ignore the camera image altogether and say this might be cancerous. See a doctor no matter the photo. Seriously, if you are concerned enough about a mole to consider using such an app, you should have gone to a doctor at least a week ago. Do not frick with skin cancer, but I know from common acquaintances that for a while after the party he was worried that I would steal his idea. A few apps like this actually exist if I recall correctly. They analyze photos for risk factors like irregular shape, color, etc., and then offer a risk assessment, while making it clear that they're only offering advice, not a diagnosis, and that you should consult a doctor in case of any doubt. Not very interesting for making money though. They are typically offered as a free service. It was pitched as, I am quoting, Tinder for offices, where you swipe between the profiles of colleagues at the office to find an empty desk near someone with the same professional interests as you. Another one was keyboards with mechanical energy harvesting devices to produce power. Not sure if they were serious, though. I'm into the Tinder for offices really. A few years ago I worked for a big price comparison site. A senior manager, related to the founder, came up with the idea that we should make an app that infects, his words, a visitor's browser, and when the visitor competitor fire a pop-up to tell them our prices are better. About 1 month's work for a very expensive team, who, for the whole month said, is this legal? Spoiler, it was not, and thankfully the whole project was canned. Not a developer, but some guy told one of my friends that he wants to create an app that makes desktop icons, and these icons would link file paths and take you to a folder. English is not my main language, so I apologize for grammar or other stupid crap I don't know I typed. You could call them cut shorts. I had a custodian come up to me to ask if I could whip up a little app for him which implemented his solution of the roulette wheel. A little discussion of the Las Vegas fallacy went nowhere. Had a guy pitch me on what he thought was the greatest idea ever, that no one else had thought of. Wanted me to sign an NDA, when I told him I'm not signing an NDA, and I've probably heard your idea and turned it down 6 times already. He said, oh, you haven't heard this one? His idea was Craigslist and Facebook. So Facebook Marketplace. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.